It all begins with an epic narration about defeating a monster as a massive fireball descends from the sky. This person declares that today is the day he will save the world from all the evil that threatens it. Following this, a huge explosion erupts, destroying everything in the vicinity. From the smoke, a being with glowing red eyes slowly emerges. The creature questions how the hero survived and commends the young man for being a true hero. It then scoffs that the warrior's companions can barely stand. Seeing no response, the creature calls the hero arrogant and prepares an energy blast. However, Lee Hyen-sik remains unshaken, readying his weapon to receive the enemy's attack. Fearlessly, the warrior charges the creature, attempting to land a powerful strike. Meanwhile, the hero's companions conjure a magical barrier to shield themselves. The monster, irritated by their defiance, threatens to eliminate them all if they don't surrender. With that, the creature unleashes a devastating attack, proclaiming the land as its own. But even after taking a direct hit, hero Lee Hyen-sik continues to glare angrily at his foe. A great collision of powers then occurs, shaking the entire battlefield. The warrior grips his weapon with every last bit of strength in his body. Engulfed in flames, the hero rises and announces it's time to end this once and for all. An intense light begins to shine, making the energy in the area even more potent. With great effort, the fighter struggles to hold back the power rushing toward him. Everything is then consumed by a blinding flash of white light. Hyen-sik unleashes his ultimate ability, Paradoxical Ghost Flame. Using his technique, the hero lunges at the creature, delivering a devastating blow. The warrior plants his feet firmly on the ground, bracing against the impact. The resulting collision of attacks generates an enormous explosion of energy. The creature stares at the hero, a look of pure shock on its face. But Lee Hyen-sik is unfazed, meeting its gaze with sheer determination. The force of the impact causes the entire battlefield to tremble and shatter. In response, the monster charges forward, trying to hit the hero with a power-infused punch. It clenches its fist, preparing to crush the warrior with a single strike. However, the fighter successfully blocks the attack, using his spear as a shield. Even so, the blow is so powerful that he can barely keep his footing. The creature mocks him, saying such a feeble attack wouldn't even leave a scratch. Hearing this, the hero questions if his attack was truly so weak. He concentrates his energy at the tip of his weapon, preparing for his next move. Hyen-sik replies that it's more than enough to shatter the creature's pride. At his words, a mysterious red energy begins to rise from the ground and the monster's body. Instantly, a piece of the creature's golden armor cracks and falls away. The monster looks down at its chest, realizing the hero's attack had genuinely injured it. It can't believe a human from this world was actually capable of opposing it. The warrior states once more that he is not from this world. The creature accuses him of spouting nonsense, but the hero retorts that even if his body falls, it will one day return. The creature is stunned, realizing something strange is happening to its body. It wonders if it's being erased, and the hero asks if it's having trouble coming back to life. The warrior explains that his flames burn abstract concepts such as ego and memories. He reveals the monster's hobby of resurrecting is over, because what's now burning is its very existence. The creature accepts its fate but curses the hero, declaring he won't be remembered for saving the world. It also reveals that the warrior's allies are secretly hoping he gets taken out too. To the monster's surprise, the fighter calmly responds that he already knows. The saintess pleads with him not to believe the enemy, but Hyen-sik reveals she tried to charm him despite her hatred for him. He explains her attempt was a calculated act, leaving the young woman in shock. Her plan was to make the hero hesitate when the time came for them to eliminate him. With a cold gaze, the warrior asks the saintess directly if he is wrong. The woman falls silent, unable to answer the hero's question. The young man then says the same applies to her other two companions. He reveals the knight was ordered by the emperor to eliminate him after the monster was defeated. And the mage, who loves experimenting on humans, simply resents him for being against slavery. The hero then reveals he has known for 5 years that his companions plan to take him down. The creature is baffled, since with his power, he could have destroyed the world that betrayed him. With a wary look, the protagonist says the reason is simple, he just wants to go home. The monster, confused, repeats the question, trying to understand what he meant. 20 years ago on Earth, he was an office worker summoned to this world. He recalls the world he was brought to as a complete disaster, filled with suffering people. To return home, he had only one option: defeat the monsters and save the world. Yet, despite being the hero, guards would prevent him from leaving his post. The warrior explains that he rescued a child from the village and asked to be let inside. However, the guards claim the boy is already passing away and would be a waste of medicine. Beyond the people's cruelty, the world's most serious problem was far worse. Medicine was so primitive that a doctor was preparing to remove a man's hand over a simple infection. With all the healers away at war, no one was left in the city to treat the wounded. Witnessing this, the hero felt powerless, unable to help everyone. A group of clerics then questions how he managed to rescue the child from the monster. A nun immediately claims the boy only survived because a demon possessed him and they must perform an exorcism. They insist the hero wouldn't defy the will of God and should abandon his misplaced pity. After enduring all this for 20 years, he finally defeated the creature. With his enemy gone, he feels his long journey has at last reached its end. But his companions surround him, stating that since they've been exposed, they can't let him live. With a look of pure hatred, the protagonist declares that he despises this world with all his might. Seeing the hero's reaction, the knight grows concerned, cursing his predicament. They assume the warrior is too injured to fight back, realizing they've created one monster to catch another. Heinzig takes a deep breath, steeling himself for what comes next. Kneeling, he shouts that he has completed his mission and demands the promise be fulfilled. His former companions look up to see a brilliant light descending from the sky. A massive ball of light forms in the air, illuminating the entire battlefield. From it emerges a beautiful goddess, who congratulates and praises the warrior for his hard work. The protagonist reminds her of the promise she made to send him back to Earth. The promise was that she would return him to his world with his soul and memories intact. The deity asks if he truly despises this place so much, considering how strong he became. She warns that if he returns, all his achievements in this world will vanish. But the hero tells her to stop pretending. He knows she is relieved he's leaving. The goddess asks him one last time if he truly has no regrets about his decision. The warrior drops his weapon, saying the only thing he wants is to return to the world he once knew. With that, he forsakes his life as a hero, preparing to finally go home. The divine entity says she understands his choice and prepares to honor their agreement. The fighter bids farewell to this terrible world and all the hardships he endured there. A pillar of light envelops him as the goddess explains his original body on Earth was destroyed. Therefore, she will place his soul into a new body destined to pass on soon. He doesn't care as long as he can return and live free from the memories of this place. After a blinding flash of light, the hero's consciousness slowly returns. He awakens in a bed, wondering if he finally made it back to Earth. The hero, now in the body of Yu Chan-seok, curses the people of that other world. He is relieved he'll never have to see those traitors again, then notices his reflection in a mirror. Looking in the mirror, he understands this is his new face from now on. Overwhelmed with relief, he falls to his knees, celebrating his long-awaited return to Earth. The young man rushes to the sink and drinks clean water, declaring that this is true magic. Next, he marvels at the fire that springs from the stove with a simple click of a button. Continuing his exploration, the former hero finds a box and says this is what he truly missed. Opening it, he's shocked to find it's filled with delicious fried chicken. His mouth watering, he picks up a piece of chicken, ready to savor the meal. Sitting at a small table, the protagonist begins to devour the fried chicken from the box. He celebrates, saying the food is so delicious he could cry with joy. With tears in his eyes, he admits how much he missed everything he is now experiencing. The young man looks out the window, sees a red light, and thinks his normal life is about to begin. He's shocked to learn the year is 2025, realizing time passed equally in both worlds. But he figures no matter how hard it is to adjust, it can't be worse than the other world. He decides to take a relaxing shower and enjoy the simple pleasures of Earth. A smile on his face, the former warrior enjoys the hot water cascading from the shower head. Afterward, he basks in the cool breeze of the air conditioner, also activated by a single button. Gazing out the window, he admires the clear sky and thinks, this is the life. He wonders what to do first, perhaps play some games, when a creature materializes behind him. He spins around and lets out a scream of terror at the sight of the monster before him. He has no idea what it is, but at that moment, an official announcement begins to broadcast. The broadcast states that an erosion source has appeared, and the young man on the floor wonders what that is. The announcement urges all residents to evacuate to the underground shelter immediately. With a sharp gaze, the former warrior processes the situation, preparing for what's next. He's suddenly cornered by several strange, masked creatures. One of the monsters shatters the glass door with its claws and lunges at the protagonist. Seeing the danger, the young man doesn't hesitate and sprints away from the creatures. He flies down the stairs as the creatures relentlessly pursue him. Terrified, he glances back and yells, not understanding what on earth is happening. The creatures slam against the glass, and Chan-sik wonders what happened to Earth while he was gone. As the monsters continue their ascent, the former hero spots a broken window as an escape route. Without a second thought, he uses the window to escape and lose his pursuers. Hiding behind a wall, he catches his breath, relieved to have shaken off the monsters. Just then, the protagonist is surprised to see a child running alone down the hall. He tries to warn the boy of the danger, but the child cuts him off, asking about the monster. The boy declares he's going to take down the creature and invites Chan-sik to join him. The former warrior is stunned as the boy reveals the world has been this way for 13 years. The young man explains that he couldn't just leave the boy, so he ended up staying with him. With a curious glance, the little boy seems to ask if the man is really going to follow him. The boy explains that erosion sources are portals where monsters appear at random. In despair, the protagonist realizes he escaped one nightmare only to land in another and curses the goddess. The boy asks how he could be so clueless, so the former hero lies, saying he lived in America. The boy is shocked, since the American president was impeached for trying to flee to Korea. Changing the subject, the protagonist asks who the boy's favorite hunter is, and he shouts, Lee Si-eun. He explains she's from the Janabi Guild and wields a massive sword as we see her battling a monster. Chan-sik wonders if ordinary humans are now fighting monsters, just like in the other world. While the boy praises the hunter's sword, the former warrior senses something approaching. The boy excitedly tries to show him a video, but his mouth is covered to keep him quiet. Hiding, the young man is on high alert, while the boy remains completely oblivious. A group of several masked monsters suddenly appears in the hallway before them. With an analytical eye, he counts 5 creatures, sensing another one hiding nearby. He thinks that thankfully, his new body is stronger than average, and he's accustomed to fighting. But the protagonist worries for the crying boy, who would never survive on his own. He wonders how to fight without a proper weapon when a blue energy forms in his hand. The former hero suddenly realizes the atmosphere here is filled with magical power. He confirms the energy is identical to what he knew in the other world, then turns to face the monsters. One of the creatures approaches slowly with a threatening gaze, unaware of the danger. Suddenly, an invisible force strikes the monster's head, and it shrieks in agony. A blue aura envelops the protagonist as he realizes he can command the mana in the air. Smiling, he notes that he can use his ghost flame, though he finds its power a bit disappointing. But it's enough, he says, obliterating the monsters with purple flames, leaving the boy speechless. The boy, amazed, says the man has a unique ability while the man is just glad no one was hurt. The boy then runs toward the monsters, saying he needs to fact-check something he saw online. At that moment, the former warrior recalls an important characteristic of his special flames. He remembers that his fire doesn't extinguish until its target is completely annihilated. Suddenly, one of the still burning monsters lunges at the little boy. The former hero yells for the boy to watch out, but the creature is already too close to dodge. Chan-sik throws himself in front of the boy, blocking the attack with his hand and telling him to get back. With the burning monster behind him, the young man tells the boy to stop watching those kinds of videos. The protagonist asks for the stick the boy is holding to use as a weapon against the creatures. Without hesitation, the boy tosses the rod, and the former hero snatches it firmly out of the air. With the improvised weapon in hand, he braces himself to face the surrounding monsters. His eyes glow intensely as he assesses the number of enemies around him. With a single spinning strike, he uses the rod to eliminate all the creatures at once. The boy stares, jaw dropped, completely stunned by his new friend's display of power. Exhausted, the protagonist surveys the mess as the boy calls him an incredible hunter. He sighs, complaining that he hadn't expected to deal with this kind of chaos so soon after returning. Angrily, he thinks he went through a nightmare for peace, only to find Earth is just like the other world. Moving forward, they come across a group of survivors hiding. Everyone stares at them as the former hero approaches to see what's going on. The boy explains a new slang term, leaving the protagonist utterly confused. Suddenly, a woman emerges from the crowd shouting the little boy's name, Seong. His mother thanks the protagonist for bringing her son back safely. Looking at the woman's designer clothes, the former warrior realizes the boy comes from a wealthy family. A deafening noise suddenly echoes through the area, terrifying the survivors. With a thunderous crash, a gigantic, monstrous fist smashes through the shelter wall. The impact sends people flying, and panic spreads like wildfire. The creature opens its massive mouth and lets out a terrifying roar, intimidating everyone. One of the men screams that the outer wall has collapsed, telling everyone to run. Yun Sung warns the former hero they need to escape, but the man seems disheartened by it all. With a wary expression, the protagonist thinks he wasn't asking for much in his new life on Earth. He just wanted the world he remembered, the home he had missed for 20 long years. Glancing at his injured hand, he wonders if his wish was really so extravagant. The former warrior calls the boy Brat, and the boy gets irritated at the name. He asks why a rich kid like him wants to be a hunter instead of staying somewhere safe. With a sad and serious look, the boy reveals he lost his father to the monsters. He explains an erosion source appeared inside the bunker they thought was secure. Though still afraid, he declares he will become the strongest hunter of all to get his revenge. Yun Seung then shouts with all his might that he will save the world and destroy the monsters. With a smile, the protagonist says his dream isn't foolish and that he'll become a great hunter. But it won't be who saves the world, he adds, as the boy's mother pulls him away. Yun Seung's mother pulls him along, insisting they have to go, but the boy is worried about the hero. The boy looks back anxiously as his mother drags him away from the escalating chaos. Desperately, the boy cries out for the man who stayed behind to fight the giant creature. With a determined gaze, Yun Seung watches the former warrior prepare for the impending battle. Surrounded by a purple aura, the protagonist states that saving the world is his job and his alone. The boy stands thoughtfully, repeating the hero's words about saving the world from destruction. With a confident smirk, the former warrior says this task is for someone with experience. The narration explains that after 20 years of fighting, he returned to Earth only to find more of the same. Although he survived thanks to his experience, he remembered the promise he made to the little boy. However, despite his promise, he did absolutely nothing, spending his days playing video games. After much effort and concentration, he finally achieves a victory in his game. Celebrating his win, the young man sips a juice box and leans back in his chair. To accompany his gaming session, he cracks open a can of soda to cool down. Despite the promise he made, his motivation to save the world didn't last long. The food and games he lacked in the other world made him forget his responsibilities. Besides, he figures there are already hunters to save the world, so he decides to order some food. He's shocked to see he spent all his money, with only 3,201 left in his account. Now broke, the young man realizes he urgently needs to find a job. But with erosion sources popping up, most companies have gone bankrupt, making jobs scarce. He reflects that he needs to work to survive, but it seems no one is hiring newcomers. He then sees a hunter recruitment ad on his phone and his curiosity is piqued. Considering his experience, he decides to visit the Hunter Association to try his luck. Arriving there, the former warrior is excited by the idea of becoming a hunter and surveys the area. Nearby, two men discuss how the selection test is merely a formality. A man with a stern expression watches the crowd, thinking the whole system is a pyramid scheme. At that moment, a long-haired woman walks by, wondering aloud if she's getting too famous. One of the talking men is shoved aside by someone rushing past. Annoyed, he turns to see who pushed him and is shocked to see Lee Si-eun. The famous hunter Lee Si-eun from the Janabi Guild appears, stunning everyone with her presence. A group of men wonders what such a high-profile hunter is doing there. She glances at her tablet, reviewing the profile of a girl named Han Sang, who has electrical powers. Her subordinate asks if the girl can charge batteries, but she completely ignores him. The man continues, noting the girl's skill, but Si-eun seems uninterested. Another man with red hair chimes in, saying erosion hunting is about real combat, not theory. He offers her a piece of candy, explaining that many academy graduates don't perform well in the field. It's explained that practice is vastly different from actual combat, and students struggle to adapt. The announcer calls for the start of the first test as the hunter watches from the stands. A smile plays on her lips as she thinks the job needs to get done and hopes for a good show. The event's commentator expresses surprise, noting that one of the candidates is quite interesting. He reveals this candidate is a civilian, unlike the other participants who came from the academy. Holding his weapon, the commentator remarks that a civilian participating is unprecedented. He then wonders at the man's nerve for stepping onto a stage filled with trained hunters. The announcer calls for candidate Yu Chan-sik, and the young man thinks he's still not used to the name. The match rules are then explained. Fighters cannot use their personal weapons. The former hero sets his first goal as a hunter to save the world from destruction. His second goal is to eat and live well, all while his opponent stares at him with a mocking grin. To achieve this, he must perform well in the tournament, and the announcer instructs them to take their positions. The referee raises his hand, signaling for the match to finally begin. The blonde opponent charges with his flaming axe, taunting Chan-sik for having no magical power. He tells the former warrior to be honored to lose to him, but the young man remains unfazed. With a wicked smile, the opponent prepares to attack with his full strength. He spins his flaming axe, boasting that he was a spear master at the academy. With a focused gaze, the protagonist carefully observes his adversary's every move. In a swift, subtle motion, he taps the butt of his spear on the ground, readying his stance. The blonde's axe smashes into the ground, and he looks around, wondering where his opponent went. Startled, he scans the area, unable to believe the man vanished so quickly. Chan-sik appears behind him, remarking that his opponent's spear form is incredibly clumsy. He then lands a sharp blow to the blonde's stomach, knocking the wind out of him. To immobilize him, the former hero stomps firmly on his opponent's foot, rooting him to the spot. To finish, he delivers a powerful punch to the blonde's face, knocking him out instantly. The force of the blow sends the blonde man down for the count, costing him a front tooth. Chan-sik remarks that he used his hands to avoid seriously injuring his opponent with the spear. With a slight smile, he's surprised by the man's weakness, hoping he isn't the standard. From the audience, hunter Lee Si-eun is shocked by what she just witnessed, wondering who he is. Her assistants report that he was an office worker with negligible magical power. The red-haired man comments that achieving that level of physical power would take a very long time. Hearing this, the hunter offers a piece of candy to her subordinate, who is talking too much about the fighter. She then tells him to be quiet, explaining that the fighter is intentionally not using his magic. In the arena, the former warrior thinks he needs to end this fight quickly to prove his true value. The blonde struggles to his feet, glaring at the protagonist, confused as to how he was hit. The young man concentrates energy in his hand, warning that the next injury won't be so light. With a swift movement, he lands another powerful punch squarely on his opponent's face. The blonde is knocked out cold, and the announcer declares Yu Chan-sik the winner. In the audience, two men in suits are left speechless by the rookie's crushing victory. With a keen eye, hunter Lee Si-eun observes the fight's outcome with great interest. The men in the stands continue their shocked conversation about the fighter's performance. With a smile, she stands up, saying she needs to see that man's true abilities. A subordinate asks where she is going, and she replies that she's going to see the president. In a subsequent fight, the protagonist complains that his opponents are too weak to be hunters. He continues to defeat everyone with ease, thinking their skill level is incredibly low. With a single sword strike, he takes down another opponent, questioning the academy's curriculum. A look of boredom on his face, he wonders if there are any decent challengers in this place. At that moment, a swift figure captures the attention of the now buzzing stadium audience. The men in suits in the stands get excited, saying they'll finally get to see her in action. The announcer calls the grand final, introducing the candidate Han Sang. Chan-sik sizes her up, noticing she has significantly more magical power than the others he's faced. The young woman gives him a superior look, preparing for the impending combat. She taunts him, claiming he only made it this far through sheer luck and is nothing special. The girl accuses him of lacking unique abilities since he only fights with his fists. Her eyes glowing, she warns him she won't go easy on him because of it. The former warrior thanks her, thinking to himself that he avoids using his ability to not harm his opponents. The fighter takes a deep breath and focuses as the announcer signals the start. As the match begins, the girl charges him at full speed, unleashing her electrical powers. She concentrates electricity into her sword, preparing for a devastating strike. Chan-sik is surprised by the speed and power of the attack hurtling toward him. The young woman then fires a powerful blast of electrical energy at her opponent. With a look of surprise, the girl realizes her attack missed its target. The protagonist dodged the blow with a leap, landing on the ground without a scratch. She is shocked, unable to believe he dodged a lightning bolt with a simple jump. Lying on the ground, he analyzes her technique, understanding she uses electricity to form a railgun. Getting to his feet, he praises her skills but points out she forgot something crucial. Confused, the young woman listens as the former hero explains she focused too much on speed. Her mistake was creating a magnetic field in the air to accelerate her sword in the attack. With a smile, he says no one would be foolish enough to get hit by such a predictable move. Injured, the girl calls him arrogant and prepares to attack again with her power. She charges forward, yelling that she can beat him even without using her strongest technique. But he dodges easily, questioning if repeating the same attack is a smart move. Furious, the fighter channels an immense amount of electrical power into her hand. This results in a massive energy explosion as she launches an even more devastating attack. The young man dodges once more, noticing she's pushing her magical power to its absolute limit. He thinks her body won't be able to handle the strain if she keeps this up. With a quick movement, he closes the distance, saying, "That was nice, but the fight ends here." He smiles, adding, "Raise your left hand if the next hit is going to hurt." He then lands a precise blow to the girl's stomach, leaving her gasping for air. The force of the impact makes the fighter spit, her entire body trembling, unable to react. The former warrior clenches his fist, preparing to end the combat. With a flurry of rapid punches, he attacks the girl, giving her no chance to defend. He then channels his strength into a single punch to finish the fight once and for all. The final blow connects squarely, the impact echoing throughout the battle arena. The punch knocks the young woman out instantly, and she collapses to the ground, defeated. With the girl on the floor, completely defeated, the fight finally comes to an end. In the audience, the men in suits are stunned by the defeat of the academy's top student. The young man thinks she was skilled but neglected her physical conditioning by relying too much on magic. He then wonders if the girl still has the will to continue the fight. At that moment, a hand rises in the middle of the arena, capturing everyone's attention. The announcer approaches the fallen fighter, who, with great difficulty, raises her left hand. The protagonist remembers his words and can't believe she actually did it. Shortly after, two men in suits step into the arena, and the atmosphere grows tense. The announcer receives a message on his communicator, a look of surprise on his face. With a panicked expression, he announces that the tournament schedule has been altered. He asks the winner to rest, but Chan-sik wonders why, thinking the tournament was over. The man reveals there will be a special exhibition match between the winner and an active hunter. Nearby, men from the association murmur that the president has finally made a move. Seeing the crowd's reaction, the young man realizes his next opponent is someone famous. He understands this fight is a test, and that things here aren't so different from the other world. Suddenly, a massive sword slams into the ground and a voice calls his full name. A woman apologizes for the surprise, saying this is the only way to truly test his abilities. Sword in hand, she introduces herself as Lee Si-un of the renowned Janabi Guild. With a smile, she challenges him to a fight, saying the stage has been too small for him so far. He tenses up, knowing she's ranked 10th nationally, and the woman adds that he can refuse. He senses her powerful aura, realizing she's the real deal and that his current body isn't ready. But even at a disadvantage, a confident smile spreads across the former warrior's face. Chan-sik accepts the challenge, shocking the announcer with his swift decision. The hunter is surprised, and the young man explains he conserved his stamina during the earlier fights. As the other girl is carried off, he sees this as his chance to make a name for himself. The fighter then retrieves his spear from the floor of the battle arena. Gripping his weapon, he smiles, ready to raise his value as a new hunter. In the stands, the men in suits are agape at the unexpected start of the combat. The announcer is tense, sweating as he watches the fight about to begin. Wasting no time, the hunter charges, swinging her enormous sword with all her might. With great difficulty, the former warrior manages to parry the blow with his spear. He is shocked by the incredible physical strength the woman possesses. The clash of their weapons creates a shockwave as Si-un glares at him seriously. The force of the impact sends the young man staggering back, barely able to stay on his feet. The hunter notices his speed has dropped significantly since the match began. Exhausted, he sees openings but lacks the physical strength to exploit them. Si-un taunts him, saying she's surprised he's lasted for 30 minutes. She then prepares for a final blow, telling him it's time to rest. The young man realizes he has almost no mana left and is in a dire situation. His face covered in scratches, he notes that the ambient mana is also scarce. With no other choice, he decides to use his special ability as the hunter closes in. With a focused look, he activates his most powerful technique, Paradoxical Ghost Flame. Si-un notices something strange in her opponent's eyes and braces for what's to come. With astonishing speed, the young man narrowly evades the hunter's attack. The force of her strike shatters the arena floor, and she stares, confused by what just happened. The woman can't believe he dodged. She had used more than enough force to land a direct hit. As a purple aura surrounds him, she asks what it is, and he replies with the technique's name. He explains it's his specialty, one he used constantly until his return to Earth. The young man reveals it's the power he trusts most, the one that has seen him through countless battles. He points out that his clothes are untouched, explaining the flames don't burn physical matter. The former warrior reveals his flames use abstract concepts as fuel. With a swift movement, he advances, saying the concept he's about to burn is different. The hunter is astonished by his speed, barely able to track his movements. Leaping, he attacks from above, revealing the concept he is now burning as fatigue. Si-un is shocked, unable to believe he could recover so quickly. The hunter defends against his rapid strikes, and their exchange of blows intensifies. She notices the mana in the air is fluctuating, even though the stadium's settings are unchanged. The protagonist explains that his flame releases mana when it burns abstract concepts. He uses mana to ignite the flame, and the flame, in turn, releases more mana by burning his fatigue. This creates an infinite power loop, and he prepares to continue the fight at full strength. He explains his specialty is a war of attrition where he never lets his opponent go. With that, the hunter is thrown back by the force of his attack, shattering the arena floor. With an irritated look, the woman asks if he really intends to keep this up. The young man reiterates that his tactic is a war of attrition. He grabs onto an opponent and doesn't let go. A confident smile on his face, he states he can keep fighting for much longer. He then asks with a grin if she happens to like persistent people. With a look of pure disdain, the hunter replies that she actually despises people like that. A narration explains that the flame leaves behind ashes that cannot be reignited. After 4 hours and 17 minutes of intense fighting, the battle finally concludes. Collapsed on the ground, the protagonist begs for mercy as the victorious hunter looks down on him. The announcer declares "See on the winner," and the woman celebrates with a lollipop. Her subordinates are shocked to see the lollipop, wondering about its significance. Smiling, the woman offers the candy and her business card to the young man for his hard work. He takes the card and sees she's a partner hunter for Janabi's Team 3. The hunter tells him to call her when he has time to discuss the details. The announcer calls him to claim his prize, and he wonders if Janabi is a hunter agency. Back home, the former warrior enjoys the lollipop he received from the hunter. He's impressed by his smartphone's technology and his new digital hunter license. With a wary look, he considers his options when a man calls his name. The muscular man compliments him, saying he looks much better in person than on TV. The former warrior is taken aback by the man's sheer size and asks who he is. The man introduces himself as Yoon Song Hyan and invites him to join his guild, Taebak. He adds that with the right experience, the young man is sure to have a brilliant future. The protagonist remembers the hunter's offer and finds himself in a dilemma. He says he has a prior engagement and will consider the proposal before making a decision. The man says he didn't expect an immediate answer, but warns him to choose carefully. He then grips the young man's shoulder tightly, his gaze turning menacing. With a chilling smile, the man advises him to weigh his final choice with great care. After the man leaves, the young man mulls it over and decides to decline T-Bake's offer. He then calls the hunter and asks where they should meet. The woman says she's on the second floor of the building and will send him the location. The young man finds the name of the place odd but heads there for the meeting. Upon arriving, he finds a cafe called The Cabin, where an employee greets him with a smile. The hunter spots him and invites him to sit, remarking on how quickly he arrived. He comments on the cafe's strange name, and the woman asks if anything happened on his way over. The young man recounts the offer he received from the giant man of the Taebak Guild. She explains that because Yoon had his eye on him, other guilds didn't dare try to recruit him. Chan-sik asks if that rule also applies to her guild, Janabi. While eating her ice cream, the hunter reveals she has no intention of recruiting him for the guild. Surprised and confused, the protagonist wonders why she asked him to meet her. She suggests he operate as a freelancer for now, without affiliating with any guild. The hunter explains that the other man would likely have offered him a junior position. The young man doesn't understand the terminology, and the woman remembers he isn't from the academy. She clarifies that guild ranks are divided into junior, senior, and partner. Juniors are salaried employees who belong to a team led by a partner. Partner hunters, however, own shares in the guild and receive a portion of the profits instead of a salary. The former warrior notes the system is similar to law firms, and she confirms the comparison. The woman also reveals that one doesn't need to climb the ranks to become a partner. With a smile, he understands that if he becomes famous, guilds will seek him out themselves. The hunter agrees and offers him another piece of candy, making him wonder why she keeps doing that. He thinks that without connections or experience, getting missions as a freelancer will be tough. To his surprise, the woman says she'll arrange things for him, and for free. His mouth full, he wonders why she's going to such great lengths to help him. She explains that in the future, he'll remember Janabi, which will put him in the guild's debt. The hunter hands him an envelope, saying the choice to accept is entirely his. He takes the envelope and sees it's a commission from the city of Incheon for an erosion zone. The woman explains his mission is to patrol the area for any new sources that may have appeared. The young man reads the details. The mission starts in 1 month and includes a good advance payment. She admits the pay isn't great considering the risk, but it's a solid opportunity. With a smile, the woman advises him to get stronger. If he feels it's unfair, then the money will follow. With a serious expression, the former hero considers the proposal as the hunter asks for his answer. He cracks a slight smile, seemingly on the verge of accepting her offer. Elsewhere, inside a limousine, a man asks for opinions on the new recruit. Si-eun explains the young man was a civilian who won a weapons tournament with his bare hands. She proudly adds that he managed to fight her for 4 hours without giving up. A man asks if she limited her power, but she reminds him she's been a hunter for 10 years. The woman reflects that she should have won easily, yet she found his 4-hour endurance incredible. She then asserts that even if he were born again, there would never be another monster like him. Meanwhile, in the city of Incheon, a group of hunters prepares for a mission on the beach. One man comments that the Jiadongdo mission was only supposed to recruit experienced hunters. Another hunter expresses concern for Chan Seok alone among so many veterans. A mysterious voice tells their boss not to worry, assuring him everything will be fine. It's revealed she placed him with a reliable partner, a woman with silver hair. Back in the limousine, the hunter is asked about the young man's future should he continue to evolve. With a serious look, she warns that the person asking might not like her answer. The woman predicts that if Yu Chan-sik reaches her level, he will become unstoppable. She even adds that he would be capable of taking down his own boss. 1 month before the mission, a delivery driver searches for apartment 1506. The doorbell rings, and the driver groans under the weight of a package he can barely lift. As the door opens, the former hero wonders if his long-awaited delivery has finally arrived. He is impressed by the size of the newly arrived box and examines it. With a click, the former hero opens the package to reveal its contents. His eyes light up with excitement at the sight of what's inside. With a smile, he lifts his new spear, saying it will serve him well on the mission. Next, he picks up an elixir, an emergency medicinal potion commonly used by hunters. The narration explains the standard method of using mana is to store it within the body. But the protagonist reveals his method is different. He absorbs mana directly from the air. The advantage is that his power is virtually limitless, drawn from the ambient mana. As mana flows through his body, his blood vessels grow progressively stronger. The only drawback is he can't unleash too much power at once until his body fully adapts. He figures that if he trains for a month with the elixir, he'll become strong enough. 1 month later, on Jiadong Island in Incheon, the day of the mission finally arrives. Numerous hunters line up, waiting to register for the mission. One by one, they scan their codes to confirm their identity and gain entry. An official confirms Yu Chan-sik's identity and directs him to Team 8. He heads to his team's designated waiting area, marked with the number 8. Arriving there, he observes the other hunters, who appear anxious and drowsy. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls his name, and the young man turns to see who it is. It's the silver-haired girl, who remarks that his hair looks tamer than before. She says it's good they're on the same team, but he asks why that would be a good thing. He says she is stronger and he can learn from her, but the girl just complains about her shoulders. The young woman feels he takes everything too seriously, and he chides her for not taking care of herself. A man in glasses interrupts, asking them both to pay attention. He announces that since all of Team 8 is present, the mission briefing will begin. The man in glasses says he'll explain the terms for the rookies, and the former hero knows he's referring to him. He explains corruption zones are classified from grade 1 to 3, with 1 being the most dangerous. The island's alpha zone is a church, and though it's unclassified, he warns them to stay away. He reveals their mission is to patrol 2 areas and eliminate any new corruption zones. One hunter is shocked to hear they'll be eliminating monsters with rookies on the team. Just then, the boat reaches its destination, and everyone disembarks on Jiadong Island. Gripping his spear, the protagonist senses the island's energy, thinking the others are overacting. The former warrior walks along the wooden pier with his partner and the other hunters. Suddenly, a red flare shoots into the sky, grabbing the attention of all hunters. A voice announces that the island is being monitored and they can request help if needed. The voice on the communicator then wishes all the hunters good luck on their perilous mission. The group gathers to plan, with one member estimating they can cover the area in a week. One of the men gives the former hero a doubtful look, not understanding his suggestion. Chan-sik suggests they establish a base at Wagasa and operate from there. A hunter calls him a rookie and demands to know why he chose Wagasa as their base. He explains that from there, they can overlook both areas and use a temple's ruins for shelter. The veteran hunters object loudly, arguing it's too dangerous and they could get trapped on the mountain. One refuses to follow a rookie, and the former hero thinks there are people like this everywhere. Tired of arguing, he suggests the group splits up, and each team follows its own plan. With that, he turns and begins walking toward the temple ruins he mentioned. Without hesitation, he and the silver-haired girl start running through the forest toward the location. He expected Han Sang ought to follow, but he's surprised to see the other rookie has joined them as well. The protagonist asks the young man named Kim Min Jae why he decided to come with them. The boy explains he was worried, and Chan-sik thanks him, thinking he's a good person. Suddenly, the former warrior senses something amiss, his expression turning serious and focused. He stops abruptly, planting his feet firmly on the ground to halt his momentum. He holds out a hand, ordering the other 2 to stop moving immediately. He then signals for silence and tells them to look carefully behind a large rock. Cautiously, the young man peeks around the rock and is shocked by what he sees. A horde of dozens of strange, frightening creatures is gathered right in front of them. Alarmed, he whispers there are at least 50 monsters and suggests they go around. The protagonist tells him to calm down and asks about his ability, shocking the boy with the implication of a fight. With a serious look, he states that fighting is what hunters do and repeats his question. The boy stammers that his ability is fire and his best technique is a fireball. The former hero instructs him to launch the first attack on his signal, sending the boy into a panic. Desperately, he looks to Han Sang-ah, asking what the 2 of them are supposed to do. The boy insists it's madness for 3 of them to fight 50, reminding them it's their first mission. The protagonist calmly replies that the other hunters wouldn't make it in time to help. He explains the others are on the coast, while they headed straight for the island's center. If they wait, the monsters could scatter, becoming an even greater threat. The rookie concedes, realizing their leader's analysis of the situation is correct. He also considers that after their earlier disagreement, the other hunters might not even want to help. Chan-sik states that what they need for victory is a well-planned ambush. With no time to waste, he sketches out the plan. Jae will strike the center with his fireball. The boy is stunned by the plan, wondering who this man truly is. Nearby, the creatures hear a strange noise and go on alert. On their leader's signal, the rookie moves into position, preparing his fire ability. He yells no, and the boy unleashes a powerful fireball at the monsters. The attack scores a direct hit on one monster, but the outcome startles the boy. The fiery explosion engulfs several creatures, which shriek in agony from the surprise attack. The boy warns that he needs time to cast another fireball, and the leader nods in agreement. With a smile, he tells the boy to attack again as soon as he is ready. The rookie begins concentrating his fire energy for the next assault. Meanwhile, the former hero charges swiftly into the heart of the monster horde. He thinks to himself that in combat he values efficiency above all else. To achieve that, he believes a clear division of roles is essential for victory. His job is to keep the monsters occupied and away from Jae until the next fireball is ready. But he knows he can't hold off so many enemies alone, as the creatures roar in fury. With a smirk, he thinks that this is precisely why a division of roles is so crucial. At that moment, Han Sang-ah prepares to act, her hand gripping the hilt of her sword. An electric aura crackles around the girl as she gets ready to strike the monsters. With a focused gaze, the fighter observes the horde, steeling herself for combat. The rookie shouts to Chan-sik that his fireball is finally ready. Smiling, the former hero tells him to fire, saying he'll get out of the way on his own. Without hesitation, the boy launches another powerful fireball at the group of monsters. The explosion tears through the horde as the former warrior leaps to evade the blast. He lands safely on the ground, gripping his spear tightly for the ensuing fight. With a look of fury, the protagonist yells for them to finish off the two remaining monsters. After the intense battle, the forest grows quiet as the smoke begins to clear. In the aftermath, the bodies of the creatures lie scattered across the forest floor. The former hero turns, surveying the result of the battle with a satisfied expression. The rookie approaches, congratulating the protagonist on a job well done. But he points a strange device at a creature, and the former hero asks what it is. With an awkward smile, the boy asks him to step back a little and explains. He reveals he's using a device to implant a microchip into the fallen creature. The young man explains a scrap dealer will collect the body after the mission is over. The former warrior asks what a scrap dealer is, and the boy explains it's hard to carry the bodies. So they implant chips, and later dealers come to collect anything that seems valuable. They then appraise the items and split the profits with the family of the hunter who secured the body. The protagonist asks if they can be trusted, and the boy says that's why they use contracts. The young man praises Chan-sik for defeating 50 monsters, but then he notices something wrong. Suddenly, a massive creature emerges, and the former hero shoves the rookie aside to save him. The boy hits the ground from the force of the push, and Chan-sik rushes to help, asking if he's okay. Angrily, the rookie gets up, demanding to know what has appeared to attack them now. Before them stands a monster with a terrifying grin and sharp teeth, glaring menacingly. With an analytical gaze, the protagonist assesses the gravity of their new situation. He recognizes this creature as a mid-boss, far stronger than the others. Seeing the imminent danger, the young man tenses up, cursing the need to fight again so soon. The former warrior wonders if this monster is the leader of the horde they just defeated. Sensing the enemy's immense magical power, he shouts for the others not to interfere. The rookie suggests they fight together to buy time so they can retreat and report back. But the protagonist yells at them to fall back, asking if they want to go home in body bags. The two rookies are stunned into silence by their leader's furious command. He explains it's better for him to fight alone, so he can use his ghost flame without holding back. With a determined look, the former hero faces the creature, challenging it to battle. The atmosphere becomes charged with tension as the great battle is about to truly begin. The girl asks if they shouldn't help, pointing out that he seems to be in danger. But the rookie says there's no need, explaining that while it looks like he's on the defensive, in reality, he hasn't been hit a single time throughout the entire intense fight. Han Sang-ah adds that there's more to it, observing the battle more closely. She explains he's managing to attack the creature even while dodging its blows. Wherever his spear lands, a mysterious black flame clings to the giant enemy's body. As more flames accumulate, the monster's movements on the battlefield become slower. Though it initially looked like he was in trouble, he's now just toying with the creature. The young woman wonders how it's possible, given that he's a rookie just like her. The former warrior continues to deftly dodge and strike the monster with speed and precision. In a fluid motion, he evades another attack and prepares to counter. He then tosses his spear high into the air, sending it spinning with impressive force. The two rookies stare, jaws agape, shocked to see the spear flying in such a way. The weapon begins to plummet at high speed toward the massive, monstrous creature. The young man despairs, unable to believe their leader just threw away his only weapon. He yells for the former hero to be careful as the monster charges forward fearlessly. Suddenly, the creature freezes in front of the protagonist, glaring with pure hatred. With a dull thud, the monster collapses, the hero's spear embedded deep in its back. The fighter notes that even with its physical strength being burned away, the enemy can still move. With a serious expression, he decides he must end this once and for all. The two rookies are completely stunned by the scene unfolding before them. The young man doesn't understand. He thought their leader was losing, yet the monster was defeated. The protagonist retrieves his spear from the ground and calls the rookie over. He asks if a monster like this appearing is normal, and the young man estimates it's a grade 3. The former warrior then recalls that during the briefing, the island's alpha zone was left unclassified. From this, he deduces the island's erosion zone has been upgraded to the dangerous grade 3. The young woman protests that the briefing said otherwise, but he insists it's the only explanation. The rookie panics, shouting that the difference between the grades is massive and extremely dangerous. He realizes that almost none of the other hunters on the island will be able to survive. Desperately, the young man urges them to go save the others, but the protagonist flatly refuses. He explains he can't possibly find and save every hunter on the island by himself. The leader adds that their mission isn't rescue, and expecting 0 casualties is unrealistic. The girl challenges him, asking what he would want if he were in their position. She argues he would want to be saved, and therefore, they should rescue the other hunters. With a grim look, he states he isn't talking about emotions but about the final outcome. The former hero remembers that some losses are inevitable, regardless of how he felt. He recalls someone being lost to flames, saying that in such a situation, he too would have been lost. With a faint smile, he advises them not to waver in a situation that is already hopeless. Arriving at the temple, he says one cannot survive in a world like this with that kind of mentality. The protagonist then opens the temple door and steps inside to get some rest. The protagonist notes the building is empty and thankfully free of monsters. He asks the rookie if he sees anything, but the boy replies it's too dark. The former warrior mentions that, thanks to their lights, he can see the other hunters' positions. He thinks to himself that these lights revealing their locations could be extremely dangerous. If a sufficiently strong monster is out there, their revealed positions could be a fatal problem. With this in mind, he sends a warning message to all hunters on the island. One of the rookies then draws a plan in the dirt, which the former hero observes attentively. He asks if destroying the core will make all the creatures on the island vanish. Thoughtfully, the protagonist realizes the mission has now become remarkably simple. He decides he must eliminate the erosion unit to neutralize the threat. While the others sleep, the silver-haired girl stands guard, watching over the area. The rookie also sleeps, leaning against a wall to recover from the earlier battles. The former warrior places a motion, sensing alarm near the two to protect them. He figures the alarm will keep them safe, allowing him to leave without worry. With that, he sprints through the dark forest, confident his plan will succeed. Suddenly, he senses something is wrong, his expression turning serious and focused. He skids to a halt, planting his feet firmly to stop his advance. Angrily, he thinks things were going too smoothly to be true. From the darkness, a familiar, chilling voice calls out to him, and he braces for danger. With a serious look, the protagonist stares into the darkness, preparing for what's to come. With a focused gaze, the protagonist turns, peering into the darkness of the forest. Suddenly, a giant purple creature wearing a mask materializes before him in the shadows. In the Situation Room, a man reports that several hunters are missing and presumed down. Another man expresses frustration, as a hunter from Team 3 is down and the monsters are showing signs of organization. The chief declares an emergency, ordering the activation of the communication network and a call for reinforcements. A shocked operator reports that someone is approaching the Alpha Erosion Core. Desperate, the chief orders them to make contact and stop him from advancing any further. The operator reveals it's Yu Chan's Seek, and they wonder if he's the one who detected the core's upgrade. A superior orders them to connect to his terminal, believing the young man might have answers. Upon connecting, they hear the protagonist shouting about a C-rank monster in the area. The former hero yells into his communicator that the enemy is much faster than he anticipated. He continues cursing the association as an operator confirms to the chief that he is still alive. The fighter thinks that his ghost flame lacks the finishing power for strong enemies. He explains he needs to weaken them with the flame before finishing them off with his spear. But he realizes the purple monster has no intention of going down so easily. The young man suspects he used too much mana earlier, leaving his power weaker than usual. He needs to find a spot on the island where he can draw in more mana for the fight. Just then, he spots something and his eyes widen at the discovery. He lands on the ground, announcing he has finally found what he was looking for. In the middle of the forest, a mysterious glowing blue object floats slowly in the air. He then leaps, charging straight at the purple creature, which glares at him with rage. With a determined look, he tells the monster it needs to come with him. A wicked smile spreads across his face as he says there's something he needs to verify first. Back in the Situation Room, the operator reports they've lost the hero's GPS signal. The chief realizes the hunter has entered the Alpha Erosion Core and curses in frustration. Inside the core, the young man finds the area much cleaner than he had imagined. He wonders how large grade 1 and 2 cores must be if a grade 3 is already this vast. Suddenly, a monstrous purple hand erupts from the ground directly in front of him. The protagonist realizes the erosion core has nullified all of his physical limitations. He faces the monster, wondering if it's finally time to end this. With a terrifying roar, the purple creature readies itself for the impending combat. At that moment, he recalls one of the biggest drawbacks of his paradoxical ghost flame. It's revealed that his technique spreads to all living beings except himself. This means the flame can even harm his allies during a battle. Therefore, if the flame grows to a level he can't control, he can no longer use it. But just then, the fighter is sent flying by the force of his enemy's attack. From the ground, he unleashes a blast of purple energy upward to defend against the creature. The monster is struck squarely by the flames and shrieks in agony from the powerful attack. Smiling, he thinks that fighting alone renders this disadvantage meaningless. He glares at the creature, declaring that the real key to victory begins now. A bright blue energy begins to gather in the protagonist's chest as he smiles. The energy pulses within his body like a blue mana heart. He explains that the absorbed mana spreads through his body, making him stronger and more resilient. A vapor of energy begins to escape his lips as he grows increasingly powerful. With a confident smile, he is surprised by the efficiency of his newly acquired power. The purple creature screams in pain as the flames continue to slowly consume its body. Suddenly, rings of blue energy expand across the sky, drawing everyone's attention. With a knowing smile, he discerns the monster's true intention and understands its malevolent plan. The former warrior stands on a hill, observing the purple creature down below. He realizes the creature used the time to summon reinforcements as more monsters arrive. But he warns that it's a pity, because with his newfound power, numbers no longer matter. An immense aura of purple energy erupts around him, carving a large crater into the ground. He thinks he's stronger, but still not at his peak, and wonders where the erosion core is. He then remembers Min Jae saying that the strongest presence there felt like fire. The figure reveals that the fire has been extinguished as it prepares a surprise attack. The protagonist is completely shocked, realizing what is happening before him. Suddenly, a powerful blast of red energy slices through the ground with incredible speed. A moment later, a purple energy sword materializes and slams in the earth with immense force. The new monster scoffs, saying it waited for the ghost flame to die down before striking. The creature reveals the erosion core is on another level entirely and points at the hero. He calculates that at his current level, he can execute a 4-hit combo and readies himself. With a powerful leap, he charges the creature, his weapon poised to strike. The tip of his spear glows, moving at blinding speed toward the enemy. But the monster manages to parry the blow, using its own weapon as a shield. The impact of the two weapons creates a shower of sparks, the collision echoing through the area. Suddenly, a blast of blue energy slams into the creature's chest with immense force. With a focused gaze, the former warrior reveals the name of his technique, Twin Moon Spear. The creature is then hit by a spinning attack of blue energy, forcing it to retreat. The blow is so powerful that the monster's mask cracks, and it recoils in shock. It's explained that his technique creates a blue afterimage that mimics and repeats the initial strike. In essence, his ability is a simple technique that can chain 4 consecutive attacks. He advances, striking simultaneously with the afterimage of his special ability. But he thinks the attack could be even more potent if the blue afterimage strikes with a delay. This creates a twin spear dance that is much more difficult for the enemy to evade. Facing the delayed combo, the creature is stunned, unable to react to the assault. In time, the monster makes a fatal error and is struck squarely by the attack. The blow is so powerful that a piece of the creature's armor shatters on impact. With a determined look, the former hero declares that the fight is finally over for the monster. He then lunges forward, delivering a rapid and powerful sequence of strikes. With the final blow, the creature is struck by multiple points of light and blue energy. Its body is then consumed by blue energy and begins to dissipate. Suddenly, a glowing, mysterious box materializes before him, piquing his curiosity. Without hesitation, he opens the box to see what lies inside the strange object. A smile spreads across his face, surprised and thrilled by what he finds. In the Situation Room, a man shouts that erosion zones are spreading across the island. Another operator reports that Team 9's hunter signals were suddenly cut off. The chief observes the chaos, realizing the reinforcements are encountering monsters en route. With a desperate look, the man wonders if this is truly the end for them. He laments that without a miracle, he'll have to watch as all the hunters are eliminated. Suddenly, an operator calls to him, announcing a message from Yu Chan-suk at the core. With a click, the operator displays the message on the main screen for all to see. The message states that the Alpha Erosion Core has been eliminated and the mission is complete. Stunned, the chief can't believe a miracle actually occurred and wonders how it was possible. With the mission accomplished, the former hero closes his eyes, relaxing after the long fight. Lying on the ground, he admires the starry sky and notes how pleasant the air feels. Meanwhile, the other hunters are still battling the creatures in their path. Wielding her electric sword, Han Sang cuts through monsters with speed and power. She grips the hilt of her weapon firmly, preparing for her next attack. With electrical energy coursing through her blade, she prepares to continue the fight. Exhausted, she realizes there are more monsters than before, and their team leader is gone. The rookie calls out the young woman's name, his expression filled with concern. He asks if she thinks they can make it out of this situation alive. The girl sees that her companion has already reached his physical limit. She herself doesn't know how much longer she can hold on, as she's badly injured. At that moment, one of the creatures charges, ready to attack the two hunters. Though exhausted, the fighter prepares to defend herself against the attack. Suddenly, she collapses to her knees, realizing she can no longer move. The young woman says she can't feel her legs as the monsters close in. Seeing the danger, the young man desperately screams his teammate's name. One of the creatures prepares to strike the girl. The creature readies its attack on the fallen girl, who is defenseless. Suddenly, a flash of light streaks across the night sky, and something happens to the creatures. The silver-haired girl opens her eyes, looking completely bewildered. She wonders what on earth just happened, as the creatures have abruptly stopped their assault. the monsters begin to fade away and the rookie asks if they've finally gone. The scene shifts to the hunter's rendezvous point on the island, which is now crowded with people. The former warrior arrives to see numerous wounded, wondering if the erosion spun out of control. Two hunters spot him and are shocked, asking if it's really Yu Chan's Seek. They can't believe a rookie managed to clear a grade 3 erosion source all by himself. Nearby, the two rookies see him and wave, calling out their team leader's name. The young man shows him the message he received, asking how he eliminated the core alone. The former hero replies, "My heart moved me," and the girl glares at him, calling him a liar. Suddenly, a man approaches and calls the protagonist by his full name. The man introduces himself as the manager of a North Korea operations corporation. The former warrior recognizes him and asks if he has a moment to talk. The man reveals the mayor would like to meet with him, and the scene shifts to a large building. Stepping out of a car, the young man thinks that ordering people around seems to be a common trait among old men. He recalls that the contract didn't specify the reward and decides to negotiate. A man holding an umbrella greets him by name. The man introduces himself as the communication and cooperation officer for the mayor's office. The officer mentions the mayor is eager to meet him and was stunned by the Jaedong Island report. He reveals the politician canceled his entire schedule, to which the young man replies it was nothing special. The officer notes that a rookie destroying a grade 3 core hasn't happened since the Great Senior. The former hero thinks this senior must have been a monster as the officer announces his arrival. A nameplate on the desk reads, Mayor Park of Incheon, and the man thanks him for coming. The man introduces himself as Park Jian and apologizes for summoning him in such rainy weather. He then invites them to sit and asks his officer to bring some coffee. With 2 cups on the table, the mayor states that the hunter has done a great service for the country. The politician explains that a tight budget prevented him from hiring expensive guilds for the island mission. As he sips his coffee, the protagonist listens to the mayor mention he heard it was his first mission. Smiling, the man says that as mayor, he is proud his journey began there. The young man finds him odd as the mayor boasts that Korea is the safest country in the world. The politician continues his speech about the airport's infrastructure and neighboring cities. With an excited expression, he talks about the funds flowing through the cities and the airport. The man then vows to ensure his path as a hunter will be a resounding success. With a serious look, the mayor says he needs to ask the former warrior one thing. Later, in the car, the officer asks him about his true purpose as a hunter. With a cold expression, he replies, if a drain is clogged, someone has to unclog it. The officer says he understands, gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. The man warns that he will become famous, and companies will seek him out for commercials. With a smirk, the young man says the officer seems worried that fame will corrupt him. The man explains that on the other side of the gates, dangerous monsters roam erosion zones. He reveals that Korea is Earth's last sanctuary, but is still influenced by money. The driver states that what the hunter accomplished was tremendous, and many people will take an interest in him. With a serious look, he adds that he hopes the young man will become a true beacon of hope. The protagonist wonders how much the mayor will offer after such a long-winded speech. But he realizes the politician is laying all his cards on the table without any subtlety. The former hero thinks he's lived too long and suffered too much to be swayed by this. Back in the office, the young man asks what he must do in return for the mayor's extensive support. He suggests that perhaps he's expected to help a mayor with low approval ratings get re-elected. The politician looks flustered and says the young man is quick on the uptake. He replies that smartphones help. The former warrior adds that he knows the mayor's term ends early next year. Nervously, the politician asks if the hunter didn't need official permission to join the mission. The young man understands the mayor wants to use him and his own narrative to take all the credit. The mayor boasts that thanks to the city's infrastructure, he maintains ties with many corporations. He then offers him a modeling contract for the coffee brand sitting on the table. With a serious look, the protagonist slams his cup on the table and addresses the mayor by name. The former warrior says angrily that the politician must think he can be bought so cheaply. The mayor looks confused, saying the world seems desperate for a new face. With a determined look, the protagonist prepares to tell him what he really thinks. He says everything the mayor claims he can provide are things he'll eventually get on his own. Desperate, the politician offers safe, high-paying missions, but the young man finds the offer lacking. The former warrior stands up and offers his congratulations to the coffee model he just turned down. He implies that the young woman will probably get to renew her contract after all. Elsewhere in the rain, a mysterious scene unfolds in a dark, abandoned alley. Kneeling on the wet ground, the mayor's officer faces a hooded figure watching him. The hooded figure states that the Jaedong Island test was a failure, and the officer apologizes. But the man says he has good news, and the mysterious figure asks what it is. On his phone, the officer shows a clip from the hunter qualification exam. The video shows the protagonist using his special flame, and the hooded figure utters his name. A wicked smile spreads across the hooded figure's face, clearly impressed by the young man's power.